Welcome to Elevate Your Ride, the podcast dedicated to elevating your performance in the saddle. I'm Ellie, your personal trainer.
And I'm Lauren, your mindset coach.
Okay, you guys, Lauren and I are starting a really fun new book club series that we are super excited about. Lauren and I each chose a book that we think is pretty relevant to you guys as equestrians. They are both books that we talk about indirectly. I know that for me, the book that I chose is really the fundamentals of what I know about functional fitness. And this book taught me a lot, and I use a lot of the knowledge in this book to work with my clients, to share with you guys. So, the book that I chose is called Becoming a Supple Leopard, and it is by Dr. Kelly Starrett. And this is just a very, very informational book that has a lot to teach. So, if you're a little bit nerdy and want to learn a little bit more specifically about functional fitness and about your body biomechanics, then this is the right series for you. You're at the right place. So basically, I'm just going to be giving you guys the cliff notes. I'm going to be reading the book all the way through, and I'm kind of highlighting areas that I want to talk about and dive deeper into. This is a very, very long book. It is almost 500 pages. So it's going to take quite a few episodes to get all the way through. It's going to get a little nerdy. It's going to get a little technical. It's gonna be a little challenging to understand at some points. I'm gonna do my best to break it down into pieces of information that hopefully you guys can understand and relate to. So that's kind of my goal with sharing all this information with you. If you want to purchase the book and follow along in this series, we would love it if you did that. So we will have an Amazon link in the show notes of all of these episodes. So that way you can go and purchase the book on your own if you want. I think that that would be a lot of fun. If you are listening to this and you're like, wow, like I want to learn more about that topic, then get the book, learn more about it. All right, so we'll get started. So the back of the book, however, says, learn how to perform basic maintenance on your body, unlock your athletic potential, live pain free, and become a supple leopard. So, kind of the whole idea behind this book is teaching you, whether you're an athlete or you have a 9 to 5 job, how to go through your daily life pain free and as optimally as possible. So, kind of what that means is this book will teach you how to position your body in athletic positions to be able to do whatever it is that you're asking it to do. Whether you're sitting at a computer, whether you're walking your horse, whether you're doing sprints. It doesn't matter what it is. This book is going to teach you how to do all the movements that you want to do safely and effectively and as optimally as possible. So that's kind of why I love this book, because I get clients who are more competitive than others. And I have clients who sit behind a desk all day. So I love this book as a coach because it teaches me more how to help my clients. And so that I have a broader knowledge so that I can take the same principles, kind of the same steps, and apply it to each of my clients. You can't quite say that this book is a one size fits all, but it gives you a framework to work with. And I love that. So, a quote from the book: this book is a step by step guide to movement and mobility. This book will show you how to move safely and efficiently in all situations, organize your spine and joints in optimal, stable positions, restore normal function to your joints and tissues, accelerate recovery after training sessions and competition, properly perform strength and conditioning movements like the squat, bench press, push up, deadlift, clean, and snatch. Build efficient, transferable movement patterns and skill progressions from simple to more advanced exercises. Identify, diagnose, and correct inefficient movement patterns. Treat and resolve common symptoms like low back pain, carpal tunnel, shoulder pain, and tennis elbow. Prevent and rehabilitate common athletic injuries. Use mobilization techniques to address short and stiff muscles, soft tissue, and joint capsule restriction. motor control problems, and joint range of motion limitations, and create personalized mobility prescriptions to improve movement efficiency. Okay, that was kind of a lot. There was a lot of really big words in there. There was probably quite a few where you're like, I kind of understand what that word means, but I'm not quite sure how it applies to me. Just stay tuned. We're gonna get into all of this. We're gonna break it down as much as I can. And I'm gonna be honest, there's some concepts in here that I'm still learning and still understanding. So I'm going to do my very, very best. Like I said, this book is very technical. It goes very, very deep into human biomechanics, and we're just going to do our best together. So, the first chapter that we're going to go through is midline stabilization and organization. So, kind of what that means, your midline is you can think of that as your spine. It's the center line that runs from the center of your head down through the center of your body. The midline is very, very important when you're exercising, when you're riding, when you're working. It doesn't really matter what you're doing. Having a strong midline is going to set your body up for success. So, I want you to stand up nice and tall with your arms down by your side. And if you have any compensations in your body, I don't really care what it is. It could be you might have plantar fasciitis in one foot, or you might have a low back injury on one side, or you might have tennis elbow on one side. It doesn't really matter what that is. But as you're standing tall, your midline is going to go towards whatever that compensation might be. So if you have a problem with your right hip, you're probably going to notice that your midline is a little off center and it's a little bit to the right. So as you're standing up, I want you to just barely push your hip to the right. And I want you to see how that changes the rest of your body. So let's start from the foot and go all the way up. So if my hip is a little bit to the right, I feel more pressure in my right foot. I would say that more of my weight is sitting in my right foot than is sitting in my left foot. So already that's putting more pressure on the entire right side of my body. I also feel more pressure in my right knee. So not only is it putting more pressure on my foot, it's putting more pressure on my knee. I feel more pressure, more body weight just sitting in the right side of my body. I feel that I'm kind of tilted to the right. I feel like my right shoulder is further to the right than my right hip. Overall, it just feels like somebody has their hand on my left shoulder and is pushing me to the right. So you can imagine that if this is how I stand, this is how I'm going to do everything. This is how I'm going to sit in the car. This is how I'm going to sit on my horse. This is how I'm going to sit at my desk. This is how I'm going to walk. This is how I'm going to do dishes. This is how I'm going to exercise. I don't care what you're doing. If you have something that's throwing your midline off center, that is going to follow you no matter what you're doing. That principle is exactly why the things that you struggle with in the saddle are going to be the things that you struggle with on the ground and vice versa. So that's why, as a personal trainer, I'm able to correct a lot of your imbalances on the ground that follow you into the saddle. So if you have a problem with your right hip always going over to the right, if I can find a way to correct that on the ground, it's going to correct in the saddle. So that's kind of what the midline organization means. So the stabilization piece is your body effectively holding your spine and your midline where it's supposed to be, right in the center, even on both sides. And that organization piece means how your body puts you in that position. So, how your pelvis stays tucked in, how your ab muscles are engaged on both sides of your rib cage, how you have even weight in both of your feet, right? That's all organization. It's how your body is putting you in a specific position. So, as we go further along in this book, we're going to talk a lot about stabilization and organization. That's kind of what that means. Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in to Elevate Your Ride. We're so excited to continue helping you elevate your performance in the saddle. To keep bringing you quality content and information, we're asking you to help us. Tell your friends about us on our podcast, like and share a meaningful quote you saw on our social media, write us a review on Spotify or Facebook. You can also join our Facebook group and ask all your health and fitness questions, or maybe post a success story to motivate another amateur. Your engagement really helps us support and encourage the equestrian community. We're also inviting sponsors and supporters to help us build our show. As a sponsor, starting at just $150, You'll receive marketing on our podcast, website, and growing social media platforms for your business. It's the perfect way to connect with the equestrian community and showcase your brand to our dedicated listeners. And for our supporters, your $50 contribution gets you a shout out on our social media and website. Every bit of support really helps fuel the show and helps us inspire and motivate equestrians. So, if you're interested in learning more about that, you can scroll down to the show notes of this episode and look for the become a supporter or become a sponsor links and click on those to get some more information. Thank you for listening. We can't wait to continue expanding our platform and helping you elevate your ride.
Hey, Elevate Your Ride fans. Are you loving our show and looking for a way to show your support? Check out our line of Elevate Your Ride merchandise. From stylish t shirts to cozy hoodies to journals and hats, we have everything you need to represent your favorite podcast. Ready to gear up? Click on the Buy Our Merchandise Here link in the podcast notes, or head on over to our website, elevateyourride.co, and click on the Store tab. Thank you for your support. Make sure to like, follow, and share our platform with your friends.
A quote from the book: prioritizing spinal mechanics is the first and most important step in rebuilding and ingraining functional motor patterns, optimizing movement efficiency, maximizing force production, and avoiding injury. So, kind of what those mean, the rebuilding and ingraining functional motor patterns piece means that if I have poor posture, so my shoulders are rounded forward, my head is forward, and I'm kind of slouched forward. That is not a functional motor pattern for your body to be in. And you're putting a lot of pressure on your back. So, one, it's going to be hard for you to have that strong horsemanship or showmanship position, right? Because your body naturally kind of wants to round forward. It's really hard to be effective riding your horse when you're kind of rounded forward. It's also really hard to be effective in exercise if you're rounded forward. So, not only are you putting strain on your body, you're kind of inhibiting your body's ability to do what you want it to do. So, that's kind of what the book is talking about there. The next piece, optimizing movement efficiency. So, that kind of goes along with the same piece. Having rounded forward shoulders and poor posture is not an efficient movement pattern. It does not set your body up for success to go and do the things that you want it to do. So the book is going to teach you how to be in an optimized position. So that's kind of what that means there. And then maximizing force production. So what that piece means, if your body is not organized and stable, you can't produce much force. And if your body is not able to produce much force, that's when injuries happen. So force production means, can your body and your muscles and your bones work together to push something or to pull something or to pick something up off the ground, right? It's your body's ability to work together to move something. If your body's not moving optimally, you're not going to be able to do that efficiently. And inefficient movement is what causes injuries. Okay, so stay with me here. I promise we're going to dive more and more into what that means. And then back to the quote from the book: in order to safely and effectively transmit force through your core and into your extremities, you need to organize your spine in a neutral position and then create stability through that organized system by engaging the musculature of your trunk, which is known as bracing. So, organizing your spine in a neutral position, that would be standing up tall, arms down by your side. And I want you to just stand there and relax your muscles, okay? And just stand as straight as you can, but as relaxed as you can. This is an organized position, but this is not a stable position. So, organized meaning that everything is straight, everything is where it's supposed to be. Stable meaning that if I put my hand on your hip and I tried to push you over, you would just fall right over. Okay. Versus if you're standing tall and organized and then you brace your muscles or you engage your trunk, your core. So trunk, core, abs, back, all fairly meaning the same thing. Okay. If you brace those muscles and you stabilize your spine, then when I put my hand on your hip and try to push you over, you're not going to move. Or you're not going to move as easily, right? So that's kind of what that means there. Back to the quote: this is the basis of midline stabilization and organization. This chapter explains why it's important to prioritize spinal mechanics over everything else. and how to organize and brace your spine in an optimal position. So that's going to be covered all in the first chapter. So we are on page 7, and Dr. Surratt's goals of this book are to create an all encompassing, open ended system for human movement that teaches people how to predict and resolve dysfunctional movement patterns that can impede performance and lead to injury or pain. That's kind of what I mean by he uses a lot of kind of big terms that you're like, "Okay, like, I kind of understand what all those terms mean individually, but I might not know what they mean all together in one sentence." So, what he means by creating an all-encompassing, open-ended system, like I said in the beginning, creating like a framework. So that's my understanding of what he means. It's a framework that you can kind of build your own adventure with. And then teaching people how to predict and resolve dysfunctional movement patterns. That's kind of what I talked about with the posture a minute ago, right? Like that's an improper movement function. There's many different types. We'll get into all of those. That's just the easiest one that I think people can understand. And then impeding performance and leading to injury or pain. So, anytime we're talking about impeding performance, that means that your body is not performing as optimally as it could. And if you learned how to put your body in a more optimal position, you would be able to have more performance. You'd be able to perform better at a higher level. So that's kind of what that sentence means. And then the second goal of this book is to give people the tools that they need to perform basic routine maintenance on their body so they have a model for preventing, treating, and resolving injury and pain, as well as improving mobility, so joint and tissues. Basically, this book is going to teach you a really strong mobility routine that you use as a preventative measure to enhance your performance, to decrease your likelihood of injury, to set your body up for success for the tasks that you want it to do. So, this book is going to teach you all about that. And that's why I chose this book to talk about. This book is all about functional fitness. So, I kind of want to break down what functional fitness even means. So, it's a term that I use very, very commonly, but I don't know that I've actually broken down and told you guys exactly what it means. Functional fitness is teaching your body how to perform everyday activities efficiently and safely. So, functional fitness mimics real life situations. So, the main functional fitness exercises are squatting, lunging, pushing, pulling, lifting, and balancing. Those, if you break down anything that you're going to do in your daily life, it's a combination or a variation of all of those, right? If I bend over to pick something up off the ground and then I stand back up, I'm probably going to squat to get down to the ground. And then I'm going to pull it up off the ground, right? If I throw a saddle up over a horse, I'm lifting it up over my head and I'm pushing it onto the horse's back. If I go to put my jeans on at the barn, I am balancing on one leg and I'm pulling my leg up and then I'm pushing it back down as I put my leg into my pants. These might seem simple, but they're just kind of examples of how everything that you do in your daily life relates back to these basic, simple exercises. So if you can get strong in those basic, simple exercises, it sets your body up for success to be able to go do more complicated movement patterns. So if we teach your body how to properly squat, lunge, push, pull, and balance, and then lifting as well, right? Lifting and pushing are kind of the same idea, but lifting, I would say, is a little bit more of a full body movement, whereas pushing is more of an upper body movement. So they're very similar, but we will talk about both. If you get really strong in all of those movements, it's going to set you up for success for everything that you do in your life. So that's kind of what all of that means. So another quote from the book, whether you're a desk-bound weekend warrior or an athlete competing at the highest level, this book applies to you. This book is practical to you. So I don't care if you are listening to this podcast because you're a mom with 5 kids and you work 40, 50 hours a week and you only ride once or twice a week, or if you're an athlete and, well, I guess I shouldn't say that because we're all athletes, right? If you're riding horses, then you're an athlete. But I want to categorize that into if you're a more high level athlete, you're a level 3 amateur, level 3 horse trainer, and you ride horses every day, you work out every day, you want to go win that level 3 world title, right? Like that's a little bit of a different beast. This book is going to apply to you as well. Hi, everyone. It's your personal trainer, Ellie. If you're looking to become a stronger, more balanced, and flexible rider, I'm here to help. I offer virtual personal training sessions and customized workout plans that you can complete on your own. As a fellow competitor, I understand the physical demands riding requires, and my goal is to help you perform your best for your horse, whether you're preparing for a show or just want to improve your everyday rides. Visit lopeanddowntherailfitness.com or click on my website tab in the notes of this podcast episode to learn more. Let's work together to elevate your ride.
Are you looking for that extra competitive edge, struggling with show pin anxiety, or looking to set and achieve meaningful goals with your horse? Schedule a session with me, Lauren, your dedicated mindset coach. As an experienced competitor, I understand the mental demands required to excel at the highest level, and am here to support you in building a plan to help you stay accountable and reaching those goals. For more information, check out laurencervelli.com or click on the website link in our show notes. Let's work together to elevate your ride.
Quote from the book: The principles for optimal human movement, aka spinal mechanics, the one joint rule, and the laws of torque. And we're going to think of these chapters as a blueprint for moving safely and effectively through life and sport. So, kind of what that means is spinal mechanics, meaning how your spine moves. The one joint rule, basically, how you can set any joint up for success by engaging your muscles properly. And then the laws of torque. So, if you've ever taken a physics class, we're going to be actually talking a lot about physics in this book. So, torque in exercise, meaning the rotational force generated by a muscle around a joint, which is essentially the twisting, right? Your body's ability to twist to create movement. So if you go to do a push-up, I don't necessarily want you to get on the ground, but I want you to stand up and kind of pull your arms out in front of you like you would do a push-up. If your shoulders are kind of rotated forward and in, this does not set your muscles and your joints up for success. So if you think about rotating your shoulders down and out, can you feel how that activates your torso muscles? You should be able to feel that. So if you still hold your arms out in front of you, your elbows are still bent, and you kind of rotate your shoulders down and back and in, then that's going to give you rotational force around your shoulder joint. It's going to engage your shoulder muscles, your torso muscles more, so that way you can go do your push up properly. So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about more and more in this book. Another quote from the book: You will learn how to progress exercise movements in a way that builds functional and transferable movement patterns, as well as mobility methods for improving range of motion and treating injuries and pain. So, basically, what that means is those basic movements that I mentioned a couple minutes ago: squatting, lunging, pushing, pulling, lifting, and balancing. That's what all of those are. Those are the functional movements that are transferable, right? So that's kind of what that means there. Okay, so another quote from the book. Although not all the techniques and information will be immediately applicable, reading the entire book will illuminate the interconnectedness of the principles and how they apply to the actions of life, sport, combat, and play. Because all these concepts, movements, and mobility techniques are interrelated, chances are you will find useful applications long after you finish reading the book. So, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, it's good information, but I don't know that this piece specifically applies to me, I encourage you to listen to it anyway, even if you don't think that the information applies to you right now in this moment of time. Because who knows, in a year, you could have an ankle injury. This book could help give you tools for helping you rehab that. So I encourage you to, if you've stuck around this long, keep sticking around. It's going to help you understand all the pieces of the pie. You might not need it today, but you might need the information tomorrow. And you might need to listen to this multiple times. This is not the first time that I've read this book all the way through, and this will not be the last time. Like I said, I'm still learning pieces about this book. There's pieces that I don't even fully understand. Another quote from the book: You will never get to the bottom of your pain and dysfunction if you don't correct the movement or position that is causing the problem. It's like treating a problem without addressing the disease. Again, this is why it's imperative that you read all of part one. So basically, if you never understand how your body works, you will never be able to address any pain that you're having. So, for example, I've got a client that has problems in his right hip. So he's kind of always pushing his hip out to the side. It's weaker than the other side. So his body is just kind of misaligned, right? Because of that, he has back problems. He has right knee problems. He has right foot problems, right? So just because he has this one little piece of the puzzle that's not quite perfectly fitting in with all the other pieces, it causes so many other pieces to not fit together as well. And if we had never gotten to the bottom that the hip is what was causing the issue, then we wouldn't have known how to fix his foot, his back, his knee. That's something that we're going to learn more and more about is the body is all connected. The body is what's called the kinetic chain. The kinetic chain is all connected. Your head is connected to your foot. Your hand is connected to your hip. Everything is all connected. When one piece of the puzzle is broken or missing or misaligned or whatever else, it's going to impact you all the way down. You're only as strong as your weakest link in the chain. Another quote from the book: if you practice these blueprints in the order presented, you will learn how to stabilize your spine in a braced, well organized position and learn how to maintain a neutral spine during loaded, dynamic movement and how to create stability or tension in your joints to generate maximum force, power, and speed. So that kind of just sums up a lot of the things that I've been talking about. So, setting your spine up in that braced, well organized position is going to help your body be as optimal as possible to prevent injury. I know I kind of sound like a little bit of a broken record, but I just kind of want to make sure you guys are understanding what these terms mean. Another quote from the book: once you understand the movement principles, you can start to bring consciousness to your position and movement in all situations. Whether you're trapped behind a desk at work, picking up your child, carrying a bag of groceries, or playing a sport, you need to follow the guidelines contained within these chapters. It's important to note, however, that in order to master the movement principles, you need to practice them in a safe and controlled environment using transferable, full range strength and conditioning movements. Doing so not only ensures competency across all movement planes, but will also make it easier to detect and correct dysfunctional movement patterns and limitations to mobility. So, I want to break down what the safe and controlled environment using transferable full range strength and conditioning movements is. So, training your body in a safe and controlled environment means basically the gym. So, if you want to get better at picking up a saddle and throwing it over your horse's back without pain, we're not going to get better at that by doing that 100 times. We're going to get better at your pushing, at your pulling, at your lifting, at your balancing, at your overall body strength, your body's overall ability to work together. So, if you came to me saying that we need to get better at that piece, we're going to break down and make all the little pieces stronger. So, just because you want to get better at X doesn't mean that you do X over and over and over again. So, that safe, controlled environment, meaning the gym, that piece is important because a saddle in a barn is not considered a controlled environment because there's nothing that's even or stable or balanced, and there's no mirrors for you to be able to watch. There's no coach that's able to watch you go through the patterns. You're wearing heavy shoes, you're wearing tight jeans. Like all of that is what's considered more of an uncontrolled environment. The controlled environment is picking up like a dumbbell on a flat surface, wearing athletic clothing, wearing balanced shoes with a mirror, with a coach that's watching you. So, anytime that we're talking about more of a controlled, stable environment, that's kind of what we mean. And how it relates biomechanically is that the safe, controlled environment allows you to kind of pick up where your incorrect movement patterns are. So if I'm in the barn and I just watch you throw a saddle up over a horse, I might be able to figure out exactly what areas you need to get stronger at to make that movement easier for you. But it's a lot easier if I take you in the gym and I watch you do a couple basic movements to know where you need to get stronger at. Another quote from the book: the sheer volume of information and techniques in this book can be a bit overwhelming. There's a lot to digest, it's true. But if you exercise the concepts and commit to performing the techniques correctly, you will experience immediate positive change. You will look, feel, and perform better with fewer occurrences of pain and injury. However, to ensure long term success, you have to be consistent. Don't get discouraged if you can't squat butt to ankles after 15 minutes of mobility, or keep your spine braced in a neutral position as you begin applying the movement principles to actual movements. You didn't start moving poorly and turn into a tight, knotted up mess overnight. It's going to take time, practice, and a lot of effort to undo the damage and rewire those motor pathways. But it will be worth it, I promise. Eventually, you won't have to think about moving correctly. You just will. You won't even have to think about what or how to mobilize. You'll just do it. That piece is so important, that last little sentence there, because your body adapts to the positions that you put it in. If you're constantly sitting at a desk with rounded forward shoulders and your arms out in front of you and your head further forward than your spine, you are teaching your body that that's the position that you want it to be in, and that's what it's going to adapt to. If you tell your body that that's where you want to be 8 hours a day, it doesn't know that that's not really what you mean. The body's not very smart. It's going to listen to what you're subconsciously telling you. And the other piece that we want to get to the point in your fitness and in your life that you don't even have to think about these things anymore. We want to get to the point where it's subconscious. You don't even have to think about it. That way you can go focus on other more important things. So, something that I always tell my clients is that I want to teach you how to be strong, balanced, and stable when you go to ride. That way, you can focus on other things when you go to ride. If your trainer is constantly telling you to put your heels down, to kick harder, to bring your shoulders back, to stop sitting to the right, to be straight, then you can't focus on the more advanced movements. You can't focus on your timing, your rhythm, your feel, right? Because you're just focused on the basics. So, if we can teach you the basics in exercise, oh my gosh, it just unleashes unlimited potential for you in your riding. So, another quote from the book: first, remember that your tissues are like obedient dogs. With consistency and time, they will come around. When you reach a block or you're struggling to make positive change, just remember it's not your muscles' fault, it's you, the inconsistent, disobedient owner, who is to blame. I've never met anyone who hasn't been able to make a ton of change in their life with 15 minutes of daily self maintenance. Even if you suffer from a congenital deformity like hip dysplasia, there are still areas that can be optimized. The bottom line is that you can always improve and be working toward positive change. You just have to remain consistent and implement the right practices. I recommend that you spend 10 to 15 minutes a day working on your mobility and never take a day off. Whether you're sore from a workout, stiff from a long car ride, or simply trying to improve your mobility, there's always something to work on or a position that can be improved. Second, in order to correct the biomechanical errors that compromise your movement efficiency and cause pain, you have to learn how to move correctly. This often means starting from ground zero. You can't just tune out and do work. It's going to take a lot of time and practice before you start unconsciously and automatically moving in good positions. It's also important to realize that performing a movement correctly is more difficult than doing it poorly because you have to engage more musculature to support good positioning. Just because something is harder doesn't mean it's not better. Resolve now to measure movement on the quality of form, not on the task. If you want to master the basics, you're going to have to rewire the hardware upstairs. And to do that, you're probably going to have to take a few steps backward. But now is as good a time as any to get started. So take a crack at it. Your body will thank you. That quote just resonates with me so much. If you haven't listened to anything that I've said for the past, I don't know, 30 minutes or so, and you only listen to one thing that I say throughout this entire episode, I want you to hear that you don't have to work out for an hour a day every day to get benefit out of exercise. You could focus on a short mobility routine that literally takes you 10 or 15 minutes, and you would be better off than exercising for 1 or 2 hours once or twice a week. You would be better off being more consistent and doing a shorter routine, I promise. If you don't believe me, listen to Dr. Kelly Starrett. He's the one who's researched it, not me. I'm going to listen to what he says, and I'm going to listen to the experience that I've had within myself and within my clients. I promise that it's better to do it that way. All right. We're not even all the way through the introduction. We're not even to chapter 1 yet, you guys. This is going to be a beast of a book. It's going to take quite a few episodes for me to get through. So, yeah, I hope you like it. I hope you enjoy it. Like I said, if you want to purchase the book, go ahead and find the link in the show notes and follow along. It's a good book. Dr. Kelly Starrett knows his shit. He knows what he's talking about. All right. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you for listening to Elevate Your Ride. Find us on Instagram and Facebook, all linked in the podcast notes. We'll see you next time. The information provided by Elevate Your Ride is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended as medical or professional advice. While we discuss health and fitness topics related to equestrians, the content provided through this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. The views expressed by the host and guests on Elevate Your Ride are their own and should not be taken as professional guidance. We strive to provide accurate and up to date information, but we cannot guarantee that the information will be applicable to every individual listener or that it reflects the most current research or guidelines. Before making any changes to your health and fitness routine, we strongly recommend consulting with a qualified professional who can provide personalized advice based on your individual needs and circumstances. Elevate Your Ride and its creators will not be liable for any direct, indirect, consequential, special, exemplary, or other damages arising from the use of information on this podcast. Thank you for listening to Elevate Your Ride. We are committed to providing high quality content and appreciate your trust in us as a source of information for your health and fitness journey.